Hi everyone, welcome back. This week I painted at the nature park, but only realized I made a big mistake. The artwork looks finished, yet something's missing. I'll show you what it is in this video later. I'll also share with you how I mix a whole range of colors using just 5 from my limited gouache palette. Okay, let's get into it right now. I started by finding a sheltered spot since it has been raining almost every late morning lately. So I choose a spot facing two bins of the shelter, and this is very helpful to frame my painting subject. As usual, I'm using my yellow ochre oil pencil here to roughly draw out the placement of the bigger objects that I can see in front of me. I am now mixing in some watery gouache paint that can be also act like watercolor paint as a first background color of my sketch. I usually will see the whole photo color tone, whether it leans towards warm or cool color. For example, if my photo has a lot of blue tones, I will use a light blue first. If it has a lot of earthly tones like brown, orange or red, then I will use orchid color to be the background color. And since I'm not painting from a photo, I just observe the colors in the scenery. For this part, I'm using a blue tone for the background sky. I am now identifying the shadow area from the scenery and start to paint them in first. This part is like a foundation to start to form the placements of each element into the painting. They are just like a rough guide, so the directions will be clearer later after this step. I'm now adding the darkest shadow I can see in the scenery. Once that's in, I will mix the colors for the pavements below the rocks. Do the colors on my palette have to match the scenery exactly? I used to think so, especially when I had so many colors and tried to replicate every shade as closely as possible. But over time, I realized that my sketchbook is more like a happy journal of my day. It doesn't really need to be perfect, like realistic painting for displays or for exhibition standard. What matters most is that the colors in my sketchbook, in my eye, have to feel harmonious and pleasing to the eye. As I am painting the little pavements, I realize that the scenery that I choose today is a little bit with a little bit more details, so intricate that I feel like each of the details, like the pavements now here, it just takes so much time to paint, even the stones as well. And because this is also an A6 size sketch, it's so small, so it makes the painting of the details not so fun, comparing to the previous waterfall where I can be painting with expressive brushstrokes and enjoying and having fun. But this one, it makes it actually quite challenging to paint in that way. In the waterfall sketch, I have only like 3 to 4 main elements to focus on. But for today's, this scenery has so much more. There are the stones, the pavement, the plants behind the stones, a big tree behind with many leaves, and there's actually also a small river behind. And the land that the tree is being planted on, there's also a charming house on the right side, which I absolutely have to paint. So actually there's a lot. So it's like about 7 elements packed into one tiny sketch. This is very challenging. Maybe this is the first time that I actually went outside with gouache painting and find a nice shelter for me to slowly paint so many things. So I never really think about, oh, so much details, and then never think like it can be so complicated. So with so many elements squeezed into one small space, I actually find myself struggling. This is the main mistake that I learned. Okay, I'm not enjoying so much like the waterfall painting, the previous sketch. So the lack of room for expressive strokes, it just takes away the joy of painting. Okay, and I came to realize that the brush strokes are actually very important because because different artists have different kind of expression in the strokes is very unique and to each individual artist. So that's the main thing that makes the painting fun and makes the painting intrigue special. And I couldn't be doing that part for this painting today. Since it was already raining, I had plenty of time to paint under the shelter, paint out all the details. The sound of the rain and the cool breeze really make the whole experience very calming, very peaceful for me. On a weekday afternoon like this in the Chinese garden, it is very, very quiet. So it felt really nice painting here by myself. There are also a few gardeners, due to the rain, they are also waiting in the shelter. So I wasn't really completely alone. This session really gives me a very valuable lesson, and I'll be very careful not to repeat the same mistake next time. There is to paint too many details inside a very, very small sketch. So I wonder if you have faced the same thing like me. Do you find like painting too many details in a small sketch very challenging also? I would love to hear your experience. Perhaps you'd like to comment for me? This painting is coming to an end, but I'll continue sharing more of my sketching sessions both from my time in Chiang Mai and here in Singapore. In Singapore, especially whenever I can find a good shelter to paint from because the weather here is super hot and super humid. Okay, if you enjoy this video, I'll really appreciate your support by subscribing, leaving a comment for me, and help the YouTube connect more art lovers like you with channels like mine. Okay, it's really coming to an end for today. I wish you all the best and welcome back to my next painting session again. Thank you and bye bye.